What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Indie Inkwell. My name is JJ, one of your two co-hosts, and with me, as always, we've had you for quite a few episodes in a row without the Air Force taking you away from us, man. So this has
Woo, woo,
been
woo,
pretty
woo.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know, I know, I know. I think they realize that this is very important to the mission that I come on the show. So
right?
yeah,
It's a matter of national security, man.
that's right. That's right.
But we've
uh,
got a really exciting guest for everybody today. If you're into
oh yeah.
horror, this is definitely an episode you're going to want to stick around for with Halloween right around the corner. Please, everybody, welcome the creator of Avalon, which is a brand new horror series, Brandon Starocci. I got it right that time.
There it is. Yes, yes, yes. How are we doing?
Good, man. How are
Good,
you?
good.
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well right now.
So before we get into the book, we always like to get a little bit of background on the guest for everybody who's watching and listening. So for those who have no idea who you are or what you're about, kind of what is your origin story? How did you kind of get into comic books? Was it something you gravitated to as a kid? Is it something you got into more as an adult? And then kind of what led you to decide to get into the industry yourself?
Yeah. So I was never really a comic person kind of growing up and all that. I really got into comics more and more as we decided to make Avalon a comic. I was always really into movies. My dad was a big movie guy, so he kind of forced that upon us. So I really enjoy watching, cinema and all that stuff too. My backstory was really wanting to be a director and all of that. I went to the New York Film Academy to check that out to see if that was something that was possible. Found out that it was not very, very expensive. Came back home, started, looking for a normal day job, as people call it. And then years down the line, I meet Alan Dingfelder. We kind of collaborate a little bit, and he was in a band before, push leads the shove. And we're, making our own production company, 1282. And we really, that's when Avalon kind of was birthed at that point, and then we really invested time and effort into that. And for the comics, again, I didn't really do anything with comics until we really started doing that. I was a big fan of The Walking Dead. That was really the only comic besides Batman that I would really read. And after doing Avalon, that's when I really started opening my kind of inventory of comics, independent, and big comics of that nature. But yeah.
Okay.
So what was it that made you decide that the film school route wasn't really
Money.
okay?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely a money thing. Very expensive. It was one of those deals where it wasn't like a tuition deal for us to kind of, there was no campus to live on. So it was like, okay, you go to the school and then you have to find housing and live, So, and my aunt actually went to New York City with a bunch of her friends after school, not going to school for film in New York, but once she went there with a couple of her friends, it was just too hard to live there and focus on cinema and all that stuff as well, and projects that you were kind of invested in it, as well as you were spending more time trying to just survive in New York rather than kind of
I was gonna
focusing on the
say, so you'd
project.
have to have a
Yeah.
full-time job that's paying you enough money to live,
Yeah,
plus pay for school that you don't even really go to. You just like
yeah. Then plus work on projects and work on just kind of films and all that stuff. It was just way too much. So that's what kind of steered me away
and
from
people
that.
wonder
And then
why they say it's a rich man's game. Like
yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Facts.
Or you got to like really know somebody to help and put your foot in the door there. But
Oh, you
so
know,
what
the,
go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, the fact that you mentioned, how much you love cinema and like you wanted to be a director and whatnot. You went to film school. I could really see that influence in the comic because it's very cinematic in the
Yeah, a lot of the
storytelling.
panels feel more like camera angles rather than just
Yeah.
a piece of artwork on a page.
Hmm.
yeah, 100%. And a lot of that credit obviously goes, I mean, all of that credit really goes to Demetrius Nastos, which is the artist of Avalon too. And,
Hmm.
he all those things are things that we want to kind of portray in our comic. We want to make it feel that way. Everything that you guys just said right there too is definitely a goal of ours. with Avalon, and really trying to make it feel like a camera is kind of going over the page, in a comic book format, as best as that can be done. And Demetrius, again, all the credit goes to him in making that possible and showcasing that to everybody who reads it.
So as far as your writing goes, do you kind of go about it the same way you would if you were writing like a screenplay?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, sort of. It's funny because as I get into writing more and outside of Avalon with like short stories and things of that nature, and short films and all that stuff too, and feature films, and I've started to really kind of write into that and started to exercise that craft a little bit. I've gotten a little bit better with the formatting and the storytelling ability, but it's one of those deals where we kind of keep it. Why change something if it's not broken? So the way we format Avalon is the same way we've done it since the start with Demetrius as well, since he's been with us since the start. That I feel like there's no reason to kind of change what we got going for us format wise. But overall, the storytelling has gotten better, just kind of always exercising that craft and just getting the brain working and all that as well. But yeah.
Do you feel like that kind of opens up your guys' creativity a little bit, being able to go and put basically any idea you want onto a page and it costs the same amount of money as any other idea you would put on the page, rather than like if you were making a movie, depending on the scene, one scene could cost you a couple grand.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to with that alone, that statement alone that you just mentioned is definitely true, and it's definitely goes a long way. But it's also great to have Demetrius being capable of the stuff that he's capable of doing, and for him to just get it at this point. We've been working with each other for many years at this point, and now now that we're basically parallel with each other and understanding of what we both want, it definitely goes a long way. And a lot of these ideas that he just kind of comes up with that cinematic kind of look, he'll send it my way, and it's not even part of the script. And it's just it's working. We're keeping it on the finished product.
Man, that's cool. That's freaking cool.
So as far as like influences on creating your comic book, because you said your main exposure to it was The Walking Dead, and you said Batman a little bit, but you weren't like heavy into it. What made you decide to make that leap and start doing it? And were there other creators that you saw that you were like, okay, maybe I can do that?
Ooh, so it was really just The Walking Dead, because it was really Avalon was originally supposed to be a novel.
Okay.
We deal out. Original idea was supposed to be a movie. Scratch that because it's expensive and I don't know what I'm doing at that point. So then Alan and I kind of link up and like, okay, let's make a novel. That's a little bit cheaper kind of process and all that. Get the idea out there for people to read it and get it and all that stuff. And then, but I'm not a big reader. I don't like reading books and all that stuff too. I don't like seeing too many words on page. And I'm a big visual person anyways. And I happened to look over on my desk and see a Walking Dead comic. And then that's when I kind of text Alan. I said, hey, why don't we just do this as a comic book? I feel like there's a lot more visual effects that we can kind of get out there, and, a lot more things to kind of really grab the audience and all that stuff as well. So he loved the idea. So we kind of just were reading things. At that point, we started, I read more into The Walking Dead. I would read a lot more horror genre, like, I figured out like 30 Days of Night was a comic as well. I figured out things like The Craziest was a comic. Like those Dark Horse kind of like smaller horror things.
Yeah, it's amazing how deep that rabbit hole goes.
Yeah,
Stuff started as a comic book.
Right, exactly. And that's why we would pick up those little, not huge series, but something where it's like a 6-issue series or a 12-issue series or whatever it is, and we're just kind of reading, understanding the flow, understanding of like the illustration of it, and like what it goes on page for people to read and all that stuff too. And obviously, it's a way different flow from a movie to a comic and a novel to a comic as well. So we're really just trying to understand that whole aspect of like, almost each page almost needs that page turner. You need to have enough in the issue to get somebody to turn each page, because it's a lot quicker because it's only 24 pages most times per issue. So it's like, what's that grab every single issue for somebody to come back to the next one? So it's just learning all those things over the course of time, and then kind of putting our idea to paper and figuring those things out.
Were there any were there any difficulties trying to make this comic or like getting it off the ground?
Oh yeah, it was just learning everything. It was really trying to figure out how. Number one,
Mhm.
like what we wanted to do exactly. We had a general idea of what we wanted, but how are we going to tell this story and make it interesting enough for people to do it? Find the artist was another hard thing. It took us
Mhm.
a while to find an artist, and then to be as fortunate as we are to have Demetrius now, and then just figuring out how to produce it ourselves. That was a kind of a obstacle in the beginning, and really trying to do that. And Alan knew about Kickstarter, but he wasn't sure how big it was because he knew about it years ago before it was like it is now, really. Um,
Mm.
but we invested into that. We started understanding that, and then we just started crowdfunding and having people back us and help us get it out there for everybody else to kind of
Mhm.
experience it as well.
So I wonder, like, while you were when you were starting to create this comic book, did you already have like a set goal of like the beginning, middle, or end? Or because I know you said originally you wanted it to be a novel. Um, are there any plans to go beyond what you have written so far?
Yeah. So this series, the plan is for this to go as long as it's going to go before it gets bad. I guess before we
Yeah.
run out of ideas. I mean, like I'm not
Yeah.
going to be ignorant to the point where it's like, okay, I know this is going to have to start wrapping up and kind of get to that point. But we have a long time until we even get there, because it's one thing that we've been telling people recently though is season three, which we just finished season one here
Mhm.
of Avalon. We're finished in that, I guess, with issue 6 coming up at the end of the year. But season three is really the reason we decided to do this in the first place. And so, with that being said, it's like, so there's a huge different approach that we're going to be doing in season three that really separates Avalon from other zombie stories that have been told in the genre. So with that being said, alone, there's a lot to come, and there's a lot to be excited about coming up in Avalon.
So I also have another question. I know this is going to be a lot of questions, I guess,
No,
but
Well, it is an interview show, so I
right.
yeah,
mean,
yeah, it is. It is. So one thing I do say, I like the design of the zombies. They're not as how can I say it? They don't look like, I don't know, Michael Jackson's Thriller video or something. They still kind of look somewhat human, but I love like most of them have like the scars because they like claw their eyes basically, and it actually gives them a more creepy look. Like they still look humanoid, but something's a little off there. And they're not like slow zombies either, because I hate slow zombies. No offense, Walking Dead. But but that doesn't scare me. Like if I can outrun you, yeah, you're not scaring me. But
Right.
but was there any like influence that influenced you on like the design of the zombies, or was that straight from Dimitri?
No, that was one of the things when we were really trying to figure out how we wanted Avalon to be. Alan and I, we were, part of the Avalon world that we're trying to tell is to make it as gritty and raw as possible and make it interesting enough for people to kind of come back to it. So part of that process was, okay, this infection, this zombie, how are we going to do this? Like, so we looked up a bunch of different things like viruses, parasites, bacteria, and all that stuff. Like, what can we work with here? Obviously zombies are fake and fictional, so it's just like, how real can we make it, and it as fictional as it is? So we're really looking at all these things, looking at all these little infections and all that stuff too. And then we started kind of manipulating some of the deals as well to make what we have in our zombie apocalypse right now. I don't want to say too much in that category, because that's part of the storyline moving forward, as well as the difference that zombies that we kind of show the audience right now too. That kind of is told throughout the story, through the eyes of the Castle family as well. But there is definitely a difference in our zombies. that still also holds that traditional zombie feel as well. But one thing we also wanted to really make sure that we accomplished was bringing a fear back to the zombie genre, and making our zombies more feared rather than, like you said, The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is almost like a burden rather than like a fear. It was like, yeah, whatever. This thing's
They were
just
scary at first, but once they figured
Yeah,
out how to deal with them, it's like,
yeah,
okay, now they're just
like,
annoying. Like,
yeah,
just there.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why it's really bringing that fear back into the zombie apocalypse. And one of the big things that we were kind of toying around with was, what is a common fear that most people have, and that's being afraid of the dark, and that's being afraid of not seeing what's in front of you per se. I think it's pretty common that if all the lights are off and you can't see what's in front of you and you hear a noise in the other room, you're like, oh geez, you're like, what was
Oh
that? So
yeah.
again, that fight or flight kind of instinct. So it's just like using that also to our ability, in the story with these zombies as well. There's a lot of different aspects we're trying to bring into this world, and fear as well, and realism as well.
Nah, I love that. I love that. They're definitely a lot more scarier. They're definitely that
they
fear
feel like more
aspect
of a
in it.
threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wouldn't want to run into this.
Yeah, no. Yeah, me neither.
And I love the sense of especially in the first issue or the second issue. I read these like all back to back, but
No, you're
it
good.
was I love the sense of like paranoia, like the fact that they couldn't like, oh my gosh, like we can't call 911, like no one's answering, like what's going on, like no, well, the phones are dying, like what is, it's just that sense of, oh my gosh, this is scary.
Like just all
You're getting
chaotic
to
at
watch it
once.
all deteriorate in real time, which is
Yes.
a lot cooler than a lot of zombie stories we get. We get put right into the middle of everything happening, and you get sprinkled little details here and there,
Yeah.
but this feels like you're watching it start.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
and that was, again, that was. It's funny because we almost, through the whole creative process, we almost just we accidentally did what you just said. We almost just skimmed over the beginning part and just went right to the season 3. That was the idea. It's like, okay, we're so on set with this season 3 idea that we had, that wasn't season 3 at the time, but like, we were going to skip over the beginning of the apocalypse, like real quick, like, brief over, oh, it's chaos, and then boom. But then we really sat back, we pulled back our script and our season
Mhm.
1 there, and we're like, why don't we really elaborate on this? Why don't we really showcase the difference between our infected compared to others, and really tell this story in a slow but interesting way through the Castle family? So that's about to push it out. Originally, we pulled it back, and that's what you guys are reading now, is what we have out,
Okay.
and really allowing scenes to breathe, allowing relationships to breathe, allowing situations to kind of take place and give it a moment and go, wow, and then back to the chaos. So not many moments to be like, to sit and like resonate like everything that's going on, but just enough for you to go like, wow, what is going on here? And then chaos again. But I think we're all kind of glad we decided to do that approach, and we're really happy with our season 1, and especially the season finale coming up here too. We're really happy with what we got right now.
No, no, it's great. I love how it starts out so mundane. I'm like, it's like the mundane, family at a diner, the usual, whatever. And then that slow build up. Like once I finish issue 1, I was like, okay, let me hurry up and click on this issue 2 so that way I can get to it. I need to know what's going on. So that is good. Like that I so I'm a fan of movies too. I love movies and like TV shows that have a slow burn. Um a very calculated slow burn. Let me say that, because if the burn is too slow, then I
You're like,
can't
okay,
do
I'm over it. Right.
it. Yeah, but I can appreciate it when it's done right. And yeah, this was awesome. Like I couldn't imagine like reading this monthly. Like JJ, imagine this. We got this comic, we're reading it monthly, and then we read issue 1, and that's the ending that we get. And now we have to wait a whole month
Oh
to know
yeah, I'd
what's
be
going
mad as
on.
hell.
Like I would literally be like, "What?"
It's funny because we released issue 1 March of what, 2022, and I don't think the next issue came out until that September. So it's just like funny for people
Ooh,
who did
oh
read
my.
it, is waiting for that, it's just understanding everything. We're just learning everything, the crowdfunding and kind of the
Mhm.
production and all that stuff too. And now that we're kind of years into it, excuse me, we're trying to figure out obviously better ways to get this out in a timely fashion, and obviously everybody understands the indie world. It's kind of hard to do that. Everybody's got a day job,
Mhm.
it's hard to kind of push things out there. But no, I that does suck. I really wish it could be a faster process, and I definitely appreciate those, those kind words as well too. But
But it is
uh,
just the nature of the beast, especially with the
Yeah.
yeah,
indie scene. Like there's not a lot of money floating around, so
no,
Yeah,
no,
that's facts.
everybody's got
That's
to keep
facts. No one
working.
got it. That is so funny.
100%. 100%. And that's the unfortunate reality that we live in. We're just obviously we're looking at new ways to get this out as quick as possible. And we've said it in the past as well, as Avalon's always going to come out. Everybody else just dictates the speed of it, with the crowdfundings and just sharing stuff and helping us out. The support that we've got in the last couple of years has definitely been amazing, and we have nobody else to thank but everybody who supports us. You guys included as well with having us on shows and stuff like that, just so we could talk about it and get it out there for people to see too. It goes a long way.
No, yeah, it's good. I remember the day me and JJ on a freaking Discord call, just looking over
Oh, that
emails
was
together.
such a long call.
Yes. Oh
Dude,
man,
we looked at
we were literally
so
like
many books that
we
day.
were looking through so many books, man.
Wow,
And
that's
then
that's
I remember I remember we got through yours and we were like, "Oh my gosh." Like we
That was the first
the
one of the
the
day too that
we
we
were
were like,
pausing.
okay, now we're on to something. Like
Like we're actually wait, we're reading. Like you know what I'm saying? Like so no, this was good. Like we saw the artwork. We love the artwork, by the way. The
oh
artwork
yeah,
is amazing. You need to tell
it's sort
Demetrius
of
that
like a halfway between like photorealistic and sort of like an action cartoon kind of vibe.
that's a
yeah,
lot of people say it, and it's obviously true as well. And it's in its own great way. And it's something when you read. You guys seen it? Have seen it. Issue 1 to 2, even that
it's a
jump, and that's still him
yeah.
too. That's the crazy thing, from 1 right there to 2. And it's just like, I don't know, it actually scared me when he originally came to me, or like he messaged me and said, hey, I changed my style a little bit, I've been working on a style, I'd like to send it your way. And I was actually nervous because I'm a big consistent person. I'm like, yeah, shoot, but I'm telling you, probably not going to do it, because we set on this one for issue 1. This is going to be the
Right.
style. And
Yeah.
then he sent it to me. I was like, you son of a, I don't know, can I swear in here? I almost said
Yeah.
something bad. I
No,
was,
you good.
I was gonna be like, you son of a bitch, and because obviously it's great. I love the style that he has now. It's amazing. But yeah,
Yes.
obviously we decided to roll with that because it's that's what you
And
see
it's
now.
not
But
so different that it's like a shock to the system.
no, no,
No.
no. You could just see the
It looks
progression.
like
Like, it's
it
just
literally looks like
he
issue
just
1
got
was like
better.
a pilot episode of a TV
Mhm.
show.
I
They
was gonna
hadn't figured
say
out the
that.
characters'
Yes.
costumes quite yet. They ain't got the hairdos down
Yeah.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
yet.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I when I got to the second issue, I was like, "Oh my gosh, whoa."
Like,
Cuz
what?
it's
Yeah,
like,
what happened? Yeah.
so we're
well,
sitting here
I
gushing
actually
over this
physically
book,
looked to
but we haven't
see if
gotten a
it was the same
synopsis
artist.
yet. So let's let the man give us a
Oh,
That's right.
synopsis of the
Yes, yes.
story of Avalon,
I
because
forgot
I know
about
we're
that.
excited about this one, but people are probably like, okay, tell us what the story's about. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, audience.
I guess we forgot about that part.
oh no, it's all good, man.
So basically, Avalon is a post-apocalyptic zombie story that follows the Castle family through a nightmarish journey. We immediately follow this family through. They have a dysfunctional past that kind of arises. They have to kind of deal with all their issues that arises with the zombie apocalypse. A couple things that we really focus on is mental health and physical health issues that people deal with on a day-to-day basis. That's really a focal point of the storyline moving forward, as well as people's anxieties, depressions, people who take medications on a day-to-day basis. Like, what does that look like truly in a zombie apocalypse on a day-to-day lifestyle? I've seen so many zombie things in the past that really showcase that for a second, and then it slowly gets put into like
It
the
gets like an
background.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, bye. But this is something that we really are going to focus on because this whole story really stemmed off the question, how would I survive in a zombie apocalypse? And what that means for myself is I have two brothers. There's stories about three brothers. And people take medications. I know I have family members who take medication, that need medication. I have family members that deal with mental health and physical health issues. So it's just really showcasing that. I'm putting a lot of my life into the story and things that I know, things that I see on a day-to-day basis, and that a lot of people do, for that matter, because unfortunately a lot of people know, a lot of people who deal with mental health, a lot of people do deal with it, take medications and things like that. So how does that pan out? What do those people do? What happens to those people when the end of the world comes and
True.
people start eating each other?
And stuff isn't readily available as well.
I
Right.
was gonna say, like, you don't have your therapist to go to, you
Mhm.
don't have your medication to take,
Right.
like, yeah, I can see how that would, and that's not something that I see explored very often, if at all.
True.
Right, and like I said, even if it is, it's showcased for a moment, and it's kind of put in the background a little bit and kind of forgotten. Um, One thing I forgot to mention though too, I guess it's almost self-explanatory, is we really focus on this family being the main protagonist. So we don't want to follow a typical hero journey like The Walking Dead was Rick Grimes and all that stuff as well. So it's just steering away from that because that's been told so many times. We want to focus on the family as a whole and their dysfunctional past and how that kind of uh, corresponds with the zombie apocalypse and their survival and how they kind of move forward. But yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, most definitely. Like I feel like the characters in this series, they feel very real. Like very real. And I guess until you said what you just said, it didn't really click while I was reading into like just right now. Like wow, they do have their own little issues. You can tell that you know, what was the kid's name?
Mason, the youngest one.
Mason. Yes, the youngest one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he obviously has like, some anxiety, you know. He obviously, what's going on there. And I'm like, wow, that reminds me of, I have a little cousin that, suffers through anxiety. So that like that felt real. And the fact that a lot of these things keep going in the series, but I will say this series does a really good job at the balance of everything. Like
Mhm.
even though you put like realistic, issues in it, right? It's not like over the top. Like it doesn't take center focus, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like at the end of the day, like we're still gonna see some cool, zombie action and like 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 it's not. I love the balance because I think a lot of forms of entertainment kind of forget that they don't know how to balance things well.
It either goes way too far one direction or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate that as well. That's definitely the direction we're moving with it. I'm glad that's something that that is being noticed as well. I appreciate that. And again, to kind of second a lot of the things that you just said, that is the direction we're moving towards. And I'm glad that balance is great as well, because I guess from the writer perspective, it's like I like to think that, but who knows how it kind of actually sits with people who are reading it and taking it in and all that stuff as well. So and that obviously credit goes to the team as a whole, the writing team as a whole. There's a couple writers and editors as well that are part of this. So without all of them as well, this wouldn't be what it is here today. So thanks to the team overall, and that's the beauty that when we have this whole kind of team right now, that we could bounce ideas off each other. And one of the
Mhm.
fun things that we do when we finish an issue is it's almost like a table read, like you would watch in a movie, or like before they start doing their movie and all that stuff too. They read the script, they go through the acting and all that stuff as well. So we kind of table read an issue to make sure the conversations flow right, to actually make it sound like it's something that somebody would say in real life, not
Mhm.
so book or robotic kind of talk, like you're reading it out of a book. I'd
A
rather have it.
lot of new creators struggle
Yeah.
with that, I've
Yeah.
noticed, is that their dialogue doesn't really sound like the way anybody really talks.
Yeah.
it's too stiff, it's too book like. It's like
It's
you're like
too
again,
proper. It's
yeah.
way too
Yes.
proper. Like
I right. I don't want that. That's one of the
maybe
things
for
though.
like Superman, you know, like
Yeah, like that's your character, right? If that's what your character's like a proper character, but
Right.
and this, I guess I'll speak for Avalon. A lot of these are just your average Joes, and that's the important part of this story as well. Is there's no hero, there's no person that's could do all. There's always going to be somebody that has a an issue going on in their life that kind of sets them back in other categories and kind of levels them out like the average person would. So nobody a lot of us like to think we're going to be the Rick Grimes of a zombie apocalypse, but the
Mhm.
likelihood of that happening is very slim to none. So I think
Very.
no, the
like
reality is a lot more of us are like Glenn.
yeah, right, right, or
Very.
even worse. At least Glenn lived for a little while, and he's like was
Right.
useful, But like, so it's just like funny because it's like with Avalon, we try to make these characters normal. Just you're a normal person trying to survive. You're not anything crazy. You don't have you're not this bodybuilder. You're not an Olympian. You're not the super cop here. You're a normal person just trying to get by in regular life. Then you get hit with an apocalypse. So now you're trying to survive that life.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, that's another thing. I even wrote that down in my notes. Like, the dialogue is really good because I also put like they sound like people because um because I love it when Castle and his was it Miller, Officer Miller, when they're just together and like their banter,
Yeah.
especially in that first issue when they're like trying to eat those little meatball sliders and stuff. and,
Yeah.
and the one guy
Complaining
like
how they're gonna have to go to the bathroom
how they're gonna
Yeah.
have to go
like,
to
that's just normal
like
people
normal
stuff
shit,
right
Right.
there.
man.
Like
I love that. I love that. So
I
it's
th-
like
I think that was a real conversation between Alan and I at one point in our lives together.
oh,
So
that
it's just
makes me
like
yeah,
even happier.
yeah.
so,
Like
so it's just like
This is
it's
good.
funny to like even add that to it. That's why, and again, like that was the fun part between writing Andy and Miller's kind of scenes there, and just really enjoying that, because that was like it was like a brotherhood, as a friendship.
Yeah.
They've worked with each other. You could tell they've worked with each other for a while, and they know each other. And it was just fun writing those scenes out. Again, it was short lived before the apocalypse, but it was
Yeah.
fun to kind of see all that take place and between the two. But yeah,
Yeah,
well, you could tell they know each other for a while because
yeah.
dude's like, "Hey, just grab that stuff I like."
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
right, right.
exactly.
Without say, you don't need to say what it was that you already knew, So that was fun always writing that though too. I remember talking about that a lot more obviously when we were doing issues 1 and 2 and probably even 3 when people would ask us about that a lot because that was more of the conversation piece then. But yeah, that was a fun kind of duo to write about. But I guess I'll leave it at
Sure
that. I
then.
was gonna say yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
more, but yeah, I'll leave it at
Yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, I guess we kind of teased a little bit of it earlier if people are
Yeah,
paying attention, but
Yeah.
and well, that's why it's when I
But
talk
these
about that
things are
now.
never guaranteed either, so you never know. They could cut something off to prevent a thing, and
Right,
we've seen
right.
it before.
And that's kind of my thing though too is it's not really a spoiler because it happened in issue 1, and not only that, like you kind of it's a
Well,
zombie
that's why we're
story, so
not
you can
showing a bunch of
figure.
stuff from issues 2,
Right,
3,
right,
4.
right.
Like,
You could figure some things that happen. So yeah, and it was really the story progression deal. It wasn't so much like a shock thing. It was like, like we were talking about earlier, it was like I want to show you the difference of our infection. I want to show you how people turn and the process of that and how fast and all that stuff too. So that was part of the conversation piece when we were writing this season and showing that to the reader, like what that was part of the process and all that stuff. So that's why that happened so early, and it was crucial for that character to be the one.
Oh, yeah. I love the fact that y'all don't do like shock value just for the sake of shock value. Like it's
right,
like
like, because you could
every
have made the scene where, like, she grabs his face and rips half his
Yeah,
face
yeah,
off, and, like, it could have been this horrible, like,
yeah,
grotesque scene, and it was no, I mean, it was bloody, but it wasn't
yeah.
anything
yeah.
ridiculous.
I
It
was
was
just like, shit, I didn't think that was gonna happen, and that
Right,
was
like, gosh, you got a chunk of him. Like
and that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of this stuff, even like going back to the early stages of writing this stuff too. A lot of the stuff that you guys have already read has wasn't it read and seen. You already know what happens to a lot of these characters. So without
Mhm.
spoiling much, is like a lot of this stuff was written that was written for the story progression. That's not written for shock value. That's not written for all that stuff. That there's a point to it, obviously. And I know that goes without saying with a lot of things as well. But it's just a reassuring point that we're not just writing things out there to go, oh man, wow, that happened. There's a point to it. There's a reason to it. It has effects on certain characters, and the point is to kind of really restrict these certain characters into this chaotic world very fast when they're already all dysfunctional and all the chaos from before the apocalypse started. So it's just like a bunch of it's a melting pot of chaos, basically, for lack of a better term,
But
I guess.
it's also a very controlled chaos because I never lost track of what was going on.
True.
A lot of books you're reading and it goes
That
from
is
scene
true.
to scene to scene and it does little time jumps and stuff, or even just like spatial jumps, like, okay, you were here, now you're over here for a minute. It gets hard to follow when there's so much of that going on. But the way you guys did it, it just seemed to flow very, very well.
Good. Yeah. No, I'm glad that happened. That happened to be the case. I guess for the story progression and the writing, but a lot of that even goes to Demetrius and making sure that that is a proper flow as you're reading it too. That it's funny, like some of his pages have like 12 panels on it, and like on paper on script format, if I had 12 panels on script, I'd be like, holy shit, that's a lot of panels. But like he makes it look like it's not crazy. Like so, I could even like think of one off the top of my head, like what page I just know there was a page. There's like 14 panels on one of them in the
I'll
later
say this one's
issues.
got a good number.
Yeah, this one does too. But like when he gets into his new style and all that too, it's just like I don't know how you do half this stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's like 12, 14 panels on it, but it doesn't seem condensed or congested or anything like that. It just flows great, and
And no, it all fits.
yeah, he does a good job of making sure that's the case too.
Yeah, the panel layout is freaking amazing. I also love that they don't have like I guess it's called like the gutter grid. You know how when you look at like a classic comic book, how you could see like
Mm,
the little white lines like in
yeah,
between. I
Mm.
love that it's just like the panels, like they're just pieced together and they're in these very ignorant ways. Like that page does. That page does have the white lines. But like if you
But
look at some
also,
of the
it's not.
later ones,
It's if you're looking at it though, it's because there's still scenery in the background.
yes.
Like
yeah,
Yes.
it's not
And
just
then
a
look at
plain
the
white. Like, oh,
yeah.
here's a square, here's a square, here's a square, here's a square.
Like
yeah.
that
No,
one,
that
there's still
go ahead.
yeah. I love
No,
that.
no, I get it. That was way back when we were figuring this out too. They're using I can't remember what the comic was exactly, but they're using some of those as inspiration. Where I loved to see that overall background piece like you just saw there, and then having
Mhm.
panels over that, like so like that was I can't remember what comic was. I can't even give it credit. But like that was one thing that really caught my eye a lot, and I wanted to make sure that was really illustrated in Demetrius's own way, obviously. But it was just like the way he kind of took that and rolled with it, especially in these later issues. He just blows me out of the water each time I get a page from him. Each time I think he's like, okay, yeah, he's good, he's great. He sent me a good thing. Each page, it just finds a way to like one up his last, and that's not to take anything away from what he's done in the past. It's just like he just keeps progressing and getting better as time goes on, and I don't know if I can handle it anymore.
No, you could definitely see by like issue
Mhm.
5, he's gained a lot of confidence as an artist almost.
Yeah,
Like
Oh
he's
yeah.
settling into his new style, you can
yeah,
tell.
100%.
Right. Issue 5, that artwork is and then you can feel it too. It's very expressive in like the faces especially when, you know, like
I would say I'm only
yeah,
showing teaser art
you know,
from the
especially when
website here, so this isn't spoiling much of nothing. But
yeah, but
I mean,
audience,
yeah,
just
you could
read it.
just
You're
see the
gonna know what I'm
confidence
talking
on the
about.
page, which is really good to see. It means like the artist is having fun doing what they're doing.
and to go off what you were saying as well, the expression how I've heard somebody say this before. It's almost like he's telling a story within a story with his art. We have
Mhm.
our story going with just the scripting and the writing, but he's telling a story almost with his art as just by himself in parallel with our story, and that goes to, like you were saying, the expressions, just like the Easter eggs in the back are very important as well. The symbolism things that we add constantly, that are, we're telling you these things and showcasing Easter eggs of like what this infection could be. Just like little symbolic deals in the background as well that are just constantly in your face, because I'm a huge in your face person. It's funny because when you rewatch The Sixth Sense, uh, or like Shutter Island for that matter too, is like all these things are right in front of your face, and if you were just paying attention, you would have known the ending the whole time.
Shutter Island threw me for a loop the
Oh
first
yeah,
time I saw it.
yeah. You're like, what? Yeah, I was
That
just like,
movie is intense.
well, those always caught my eye as well, and you're like, and it goes back, and it's funny when you rewatch it, you could see it then. You're like, oh,
Mhm.
if I was just paying attention, I would have been able to predict the end. Like I would have known the end already. But
Yeah,
like
about halfway through, you kind of figure it out after you've seen it once or twice.
right,
But
right. So that's why I'm like, I love those things. For me, it adds like a reread value, because I'll tell you right now, in the 5 issues that you've read, there are a lot of Easter eggs and there's a lot of symbolic deals that kind of foreshadow things to come as well. So that's always kind of a fun thing for me as a fan of projects, movies, books, and all that. So obviously, we're going to add it into Avalon as well.
Yeah,
I love
man,
it.
this is. I don't know. I'm just staring at some of the artwork right now. Like this is some. This is lit.
No, again, like, a lot of what Demetrius brings to the table, though, too. Without him, I don't know where we would be at this point. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot, of, like you said, a lot of confidence, a lot of like just awesome stuff to kind of visually to just look at as well. We're very lucky to have Demetrius be a part of this journey with us, because I don't know where we would be at this point if he wasn't with us. So, a lot of kudos goes to him. A lot of respect and love goes to him as well.
Yeah, this is good. Another thing, I wonder what made y'all decide to do the last page to be in color.
I think we just thought it would be a cool idea.
Mhm.
The black and white, again, being a Walking Dead fan, I that was like my go to. I love the black and white.
Mhm.
But then I'm thinking to myself, like, it's a zombie comic. Why, we need the gore, we need the blood. So then that's obviously what sparked the black, white, and blood. Because again, that noir look, I love it, and especially Demetrius in his new style, how he kind of really embodied that noirish kind of look to it. I
Mhm.
appreciate that more, and it's not like your typical black and white story that you're accustomed to seeing or whatever it is. It has that noir feel to it, um, and so. And then Alan and I were talking. I don't even remember, honestly, the actual conversation. It's going to bother me now. I'll have to ask Alan. But it's just like, I think we just simply thought it would be cool to have a full colors page, because that would just be unique. And then we also get to kind of see, it almost brings you into reality. It takes you out of
Mhm.
that noirist kind of like drama, intense feel for the 23 pages, and then just throws you into the page at the end of the book there and really hooks you even more, I guess. So it was just, I guess, just a cool idea. I wish there was a cooler kind of like answer for that, but I think it was just, we were like, oh, that would be kind of cool if we did that, and we did it. So
Hey, sometimes the best ideas happen that way,
I
you
know, it's
know?
just like, oh yeah, let's just try
Like,
this.
hey,
See
this would
what
be
happens.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't even know if it's a thing or not. It could be a common thing. Like I said, I'm not a huge comic person, so it could be a thing. I just thought it would be kind of unique as well to kind of do that. So
No, I mean, I feel like usually, especially like in American comics, they either go one or two ways. It's either gonna be black and white or color for the whole thing.
Mhm.
Um, Now with manga, I know sometimes they would do like color pages, but that's like every
Rare.
so rare in between. Like maybe like you might have to get through like a couple volumes just to end up seeing a
Get that
color
one little
page.
splash page.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, like you might. But I just thought that was very unique, especially keep reading it because I feel like this is a story on reread. I think it gets enhanced because you start to notice like all the little incongruencies. Like for me, I don't even think I really noticed that the last page in the first issue was in color until I got to maybe like the third issue, and I was like, wait, all of these
Yes.
like the last page is in color. You
that's how
know,
you
it's
know it's done well, though. It was
yeah,
done
like you're just
so
going with the
well and slick,
flow.
you didn't
Yeah,
even notice. Like,
yeah,
Well, it's funny because it's like it almost the issue one back page is almost like a not, I don't want to say doll, but it's just like you said, like it just like you don't really. I guess yeah, you really can't tell. I mean, if you really were looking, if you really just invested in kind of just reading through it and getting through it, it's very easy to almost miss that one because the sharp colors is the black and the blood there.
mhm,
All the other stuff can almost look like a dull grayscale if you're kind of just zooming by it, but
well, and I like how the flashlight kind of made it like
yeah, that
gave it
way.
its color. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's 100%, and it's funny with that issue though too. If you know, Demetrius is very adamant about remastering issue one, so that's our next step after issue six here. We're doing one last print run of the issue one that you guys read on PDF.
Mhm.
And as soon as that print run is done, we're not going to print that one anymore. We're going to just print the remastered art style for issue one as well.
okay.
So that'll be kind of cool to see that issue one
I'll
with the
say you'll
new
have to send us
style.
a copy of that so we can do like a side by side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%,
that'd be
100%.
dope.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to kind of see what he's already sent a little while back ago. Like he sent I think that number one page, the first page when you kind of get that, you know, the apartment building or the apartment, yeah, scene right there. He sent me a new and improved one a couple months ago actually, and it was really cool to see like just that new style embodied into this issue here. Like you said, it's almost like a pilot episode too. That's actually a fun way of looking at that issue one as well. I like that. So
Yeah.
it almost makes me not want to do the remastered. Sorry, Demetrius, but I like the pilot
Well, what you
episode kind of
do
thing
is,
too.
you do the remastered, and then like a year from now, after the trade's out, then you go ahead and release that as the OG version.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right,
OG.
exactly. Yeah, that's kind of a cool thing as well, and I like that. I like the pilot episode deal as well. I don't know if you guys noticed though too, like the titles of the each issue. Did you guys notice that as well?
Yes, I know one of them was Blind
Blindside.
Side.
Yeah,
One of
Okay,
them
I'll have to go
was
back because I did not notice that.
so
what
one fun thing though
Breathe.
too, and this goes towards that pilotist kind of feel to it is issue one is just Avalon. That's just the title. There's no issue title for Avalon issue one.
Ah,
Every other
yeah.
issue after that has a title and all that stuff as well. And I think that's kind of a fun thing. I'm shocked that people don't actually do that more. Again, I'm a big movie person. Show cinema kind of person. So in my head it's TV show. You know what I mean? So it's just like TV shows name their episodes and all that stuff as well. So that's the kind of the way I look at these issues too. It's
No, it
very
makes total sense.
yeah
Yeah, I didn't notice until it was issue 3 and it was called Last Christmas, and then at the end of the story you had like some of the variant covers.
yeah
And the last one was the with the Christmas ornaments and all of that.
yeah yeah yeah
I was like,
yeah. Those one that
"Whoa."
one was probably my favorite. One of my favorite covers he's done. I
Oh
think
yeah.
very cool cover. We only made a limited quantity of those too, and those went and those that was a really fun cover that he came up with.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. That was definitely one of my favorite covers. Yeah, the covers are awesome, man. Like I feel like if I were to see these in like a shop, I would definitely pick it up. It definitely gives the intrigue.
He
Yeah.
definitely has a good cover style. It definitely does,
Mhm.
and it just and again that's one of the things that gets better and better each issue that goes on.
No, I love
Right.
it, man. So there are plans for major stuff down the road. You said
Mhm.
at least 3 seasons that you guys have got like pretty much in the bag already, ready to go.
Yeah.
Um, are there any other like, because on your website it says that there's a potential for like kind of spin-off deals. Is there anything that you guys have kind of started on? Are there any ideas that are like even halfway fleshed out yet, or are you guys still just kind of focused on the main storyline right now?
So the main focus is still on the main storyline, but there obviously is stuff that we're entertaining, and we have a lot of ideas for spin-off stuff as well. A lot of these ideas, instead of doing the traditional, like, okay, just a different telling in the same universe,
Mm-hmm.
or sorry, a different telling in like the same universe but the same time frame, we're going to do it a different telling in the same universe at different time frames. Like, without spoiling much, before the apocalypse. I'll just let you think that,
Okay.
I don't want to give too much away. There's just, yeah.
Stuff to
Yeah.
flesh out other
Yeah,
things that are
yeah.
going on.
So
Okay.
so it's not going to be like, okay, you're following another family in the world of Avalon, and their survivor story.
More like a flashback kind of series type deal,
Flashback
or
series that leads into this and stuff like that. So
okay.
it's going to be, I think two different unique tellings in the same universe. Uh, I'm excited for it. I'm very excited about the idea and fleshing out the idea even further. Obviously we have some cool ideas kind of tagged on it, but making it make sense and fleshing it out. We need to kind of do that. It's kind of like whenever we have extra time, we'll jump on that dock and kind of do it. But like I said in the beginning too, most of the focus is on Avalon and getting this uplifted and people making sure people can see this.
Well, speaking of people can see this, where can they see this? Where can they find more info on it? Where can they buy a copy?
Yeah, you could go on www.avaloncomic.com. We have all of our issues on our store. We have PDF issues only for $1.99 as well for anybody who is hearing it and they're like, let me give it a shot, and they don't know if they're going to like it. $1.99 a PDF, or you can get our physical copies as well. We have about pages, we have art pages for Demetrius as well, all that stuff, a contact page if you have any questions. We're always excited to kind of hear feedback, and always excited to kind of for people to reach out, talk to us, ask us questions. We always love that interaction between everybody. But yeah.
And you guys can visit the official Avalon comic website right there at the QR code on your screen. If you're listening to the audio version of this tomorrow, you can find a link down in the description of this episode, as well as a link directly to the store page. So this QR code on your screen currently can get you directly to the store page and just look at everything that they've got to offer. And again, there will be links to everything down in the description of this video on YouTube, as well as all the other podcast platforms. You can also find Avalon Comics on pretty much all social media platforms, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So if you're on social media and you want to check them out there, I'm sure they would appreciate a follow. And yeah, if there's anything else you want to plug.
No, that would basically be it. Like you said, our website as well. You can get us, see us and contact us. We're on all social media platforms that you can think of. We have a link tree tagged onto all of our social medias. So if you find us in one place, you'll be able to find us in all of them. Please, please, please leave your feedback. Let us know what you think. We have a review page on our Facebook that also is corresponded with our website as well. So anybody who reviews our comic on Facebook will get their review put on our website as well. So let us know what you think. We love the feedback. We want to get better. If you like it, great. If you don't, let us know what you don't like so we can get better.
Cool.
I think that's something people don't do enough. Give them feedback. Let
Yes.
them know what you do
That's
and
true.
don't like.
Yeah,
But be
100%.
nice about it.
but don't tell me you don't like it.
Don't tell them it's garbage and then don't give them no constructive feedback. Like, come
Exactly.
on now. But on another note, October 30th, 7 p.m., night before Halloween, everybody, we will be back here with multiple former horror comic book guests. We've got a big horror Halloween special going on the 30th, so make sure you guys tune in for that. And yeah, Brandon, if you want, you can hang out for a minute after we get off of here and kind of chit chat. But as for us, we are out of here, everybody. Please be safe, be kind, take it easy, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Have a good night.
See you.